Hi everyone, welcome to आज की हक की बातें as a part of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence. And today we're in conversation with Professor Anita Ghai, who is a disability rights activist and a former professor from Ambedkar University teaching disability studies. Welcome, Professor Anita. Thank you so much for joining us. If you could maybe just for our audience share a little bit about yourself, about your work.
Uh, you want me to begin with?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So uh, my parents got married in partition, I think somewhere in 56. And I had polio 2 years after that. So at that time, because the injections and all were not very, very, I mean, they used to come in the plane, but the ice and all that was not okay. So there were doubts. So a lot of people in that particular generation had polio. And the first question that I had to always confront is, ki, your mother did not think about the injection, as if she was purposely wanting that to happen. But then one had to kind of tell her that this is the reason, because the injection actually came in 59 and not in 58.
Right.
So that's how I kind of uh, you know uh, uh, had to go through, and there is a lot of story about that, because I think in disability, by and large, the idea is that cure is the goal,
Yeah.
and care is a goal which comes later. And I kind of turn around and I say that care is more important, and cure, as much as possible, it can be done. And in my understanding, it doesn't really happen so much.
Mhm. Right. Absolutely. And I think just to start the conversation, Anita, I'd like to ask you that, and this is from, many of us, even as able-bodied people working in the gender space, uh,
Hmm.
these are things taken for granted. There are a lot of things taken for granted by us. And, I'd like you to, just share a little bit about, why are women, women, people who understand, who identify as feminine, uh, people with disability who are not able-bodied. What does gender-based violence look like for them?
Primarily, I think I should say that I always use this acronym, which is called TAB, which means that you all, and I'm including all, the ones who are able right now, can be disabled at any particular point in time.
Absolutely.
So something which is very, very, I mean, it's precarious, because you can't really decide that कि मुझे नहीं होगा,
Hmm.
और अमेरिका में नहीं होगा, या जर्मनी में नहीं होगा. It can happen, and it has happened everywhere.
Yeah.
So there's no country, no religion, no urban, whatever, none of these, which actually say that only people with these people with disabilities will remain.
Mhm.
And the point about the last thing you said was,
How is the experience of gender-based violence for them?
yeah. So I've been, I mean, I remember this started after the Jyoti's, I think, case.
Yeah.
And of course, there was a lot of work which is done. And then we also used to have that, let's search, let's find the night, and we will,
Yeah.
get the night out, you know,
Yeah.
so that we would ensure that, something is there. And that in itself was indicative of the fact that we can be, and especially women, I mean, whether able or disabled,
Yeah.
but can be, I mean, I can say that sometimes disabled get more attention as
Mhm.
compared to the disabled. But the idea is that any of them can be, violence becomes a part of their life.
Mhm.
And the idea was to kind of, uh, look at those days, so that in a way it's a reminder that each year, don't forget it, so that we kind of, are active enough and energetic enough to talk about the, uh, uh, violence that is there, and the 16 days in particular would be, so that it can become a reminder.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And
Is that right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I something that I think about a lot, Anita Di, is that we talk about so many forms of gender-based violence, that we try to, and of course during this particular 16 days, but also as organizations working in the gender space, there are so many different forms of violence that we try to bring to the limelight, to even make people aware that these are, I mean, there are some very obvious ones like, rape and sexual assault and abuse
Yeah.
in the gravest forms, but then there is also a lot of institutional forms of gender based violence, uh,
Yes.
which goes unnoticed. And I just wanted to understand that, you
You
know,
know, strangely, it's not the rape, that Jyoti's rape.
yeah.
I mean, I go back to 94, where in Pune there was a hospital in which the intellectually impaired girls and boys both were, kind of being housed. And suddenly they decided that they would get their hysterectomies done.
Mm-hmm.
So the question was that why the hysterectomy? Then the answer was that because menstrual hygiene is very important,
Yeah.
and menstrual hygiene meant that they would not give them the pads, they would not give them the cords, they would not give them, proper precautionary measures. So obviously, where would blood go?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it would go to the walls, it would go to different places.
Yeah.
So they decided that they would, and they also decided in their own mind that they might not commit suicide with the cord. You know, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, why? I mean, this was such a silly kind of a understanding that one didn't really realize. And the boys, of course, were not affected in that sense. So it was, though they were also intellectually impaired, but it was not there. So I can tell you that this was the first campaign in India in which the question disability came on the
Mm-hmm.
main papers. And it was because, so many people, read all that, that I think they finally had to stop doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Which I can't say that It has been completely
Yeah.
stopped or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think coming from that, and you're right that, I think what also goes unnoticed is that uh particularly for people people who are not able-bodied, people with disabilities, um there is also the overall lack of an institutional mechanism for care, which translates
Yeah, exactly,
both spaces.
exactly.
Uh, it,
Because they wouldn't want to. I mean, it's almost as if the question was, and the women's movement also at that time used to say that there are so many things, no, at my time, like for example, eve teasing,
Mhm.
um, uh, um, bride birding,
Yeah,
uh,
arm killing.
and from one to Z. I mean, they were saying that there were so many issues that how do we talk about? I mean, how do we prioritize one over the other?
Right, absolutely. And just to go back, one step, to also ask that, uh, how are gendered experiences for men and women, who may have various kinds of disabilities, whether physical or intellectual, in that sense, how are those gendered experiences different? I remember in our conversation you had also shared some interesting things about how men who are disabled, in fact, many men who are disabled, in fact, you have seen this in your experience, and you've known about this, have married women, able-bodied women, who,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
but I must say that though many of the men, because they are from a richer class or whatever, they tend to get married or tend to get whatever. I mean, lived in relationship or whatever you can call it. But it's not as if the men are not affected.
yeah, yeah,
I mean, one must also acknowledge the fact that they are equally discriminated.
yeah,
And I mean, I remember a particular example which Amir Khan had given in Satyamev Jayate,
right, right.
where an uncle used to always do this right from the beginning, though he wasn't disabled, but the kind of impact that it had left on him was really uh, traumatizing. I mean, like in that particular sense,
Mm,
and many a times, one can't understand that where and how they might be attacked in that particular sense.
mm, absolutely right. And coming to that, I think I wanted to ask also that, you've been part of, the women's movement in India has been rich with the history of, organized collectivizing, and you've been a part of that space for many, many years, Anita Di. And I wanted to ask you that, what has been your experience, as a disabled woman, as an activist in that space, and what were some of the challenges and negotiations and conversations that you have had, with other people in this space?
Well, to begin with, of course, I was in women, so there was no other. I mean, I thought, and I still think
Right.
that that's the only space where you can be there. I mean, like at least they would listen to you. I mean, like that kind of a thing. In that sense. But as I grew older and realized that one was interacting more and more, that you understood that actually women with disabilities were not there in their trajectory,
Mm,
and it was almost as if um, I mean, it was more of a pitiable kind of a understanding that, oh, poor thing, or whatever. I mean, if you look at Latika Sarkar's report, which came, I mean, there was hardly anything about disability at all. Most of the Veena Das, I mean, many of the, only Veena Das had one, I remember, article in which she had done where, there was this mark on her cheek, you
Mm,
know, and of course that was taken as a part of the disability, and she does discuss that, and I think it was done with Renu Adlakha, so they'd done that joint work, you know. That was something which I remember that but otherwise, by and large, the impact was always on rehabilitation.
mm,
I mean, you give them the assistive devices, you give them the cure, of course, like I said, is for always, and then they would give them, and very very what should I say, um, regressive level of work. I
yeah,
mean, I'm not saying no work is regressive. Even the candles are not regressive,
yeah, yeah.
but the point is that when you leave them to that part only
Mm-hmm.
and not give them education which can take you further somewhere, then I think it's a problem. So it's fine. I mean, they can do the chairs, they can do the caning and all that. That's fine. I mean, no problem at all. But the fact is that I'm not sure what kind of funding at that time
Mm-hmm.
was really possible. Very, very little, you know, resources that were there.
Yeah, yeah. And so, I think so that brings me to my next question, Anita Di, that, when it comes to representation and allocations of budget and how policies are made, particularly for women with disabilities, are there, what has changed, in that many years, we're in 2024 now,
Let me let me say that the representation,
yeah,
when we started working in somewhere, you can say Javed and Akhila from CFAR. I don't know whether you know her
yeah,
or
yeah,
not.
yeah,
And so we started working, and we found that there was hardly any representation of the disabled person, men and women both,
yeah.
in the television.
Mm-hmm.
So our first path was to give them the assignments and say that watch it and tell us where all it is there. If at all, I feel that disability has come into your, every day to day life,
Mm-hmm.
has been through cinema.
Right.
Because right from Mother India, uh,
Mm.
I mean, I could think of, and these days I watch, like, sometimes when I'm not doing anything particular, I see that there are so many movies in which they are either on the wheelchair or whatever, but the representation is there. And
Right.
some of the representation are, uh, I mean, I can't say whether hero was doing it in a tokenist kind of a way or whatever, but he was. And then the movies, like some of the very very I don't know how many of you've seen, for example, Dosti,
Yeah.
uh, Sparsh,
Yeah.
Koshish. I think some of them were very, very powerful movies that were done at that time, you know, in which they managed to kind of, and Koshish, I remember, Jia's brother, I mean, in the film, actually, takes the money and he dies. And one very interesting nuance was that there was a blind I don't remember the name of the actor right now,
Mhm.
who would say, then who would take care of them,
Mhm.
in that sense. And in the end, and that was really beautiful for me.
Mhm.
Do you know,
Yeah, yeah.
in the end, the wife dies, and he says that, and the son is not hearing impaired.
Mhm.
So, and the couple comes to them and says that, they are they're looking about him, and he is as normal as anyone.
Mhm.
It's only when the father, Sanjeev Kumar, who really acted so well. I mean, like, but I also feel that there was a bit of a coercion out there.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. No, absolutely. And I think what you're saying is really important because, uh, you know, uh, this is something that we talk about, in the programs that we do a lot. That until and unless you have role models like yourself that you can see out there, how will you be able to envision that path for yourself? How can if you don't see people who represent you on screen, or
Hmm.
or in those big spaces, in this space, if they're not visible, then how can you imagine that you will.
No, now, of course, at that time we started working, and when we went to present at Star Plus, they were actually saying that, is it real? I
Yeah,
mean, are the people there really watching all these? And we had recordings, we had videos and everything. So we said, yeah, they are. I mean, in that particular sense. But all the same, I mean, you look at some of the serials, Sony.
mm,
Uh, I mean, we had to complain, and many we had to complain because such derogatory representation could also be there in almost all these televisions.
yeah, yeah,
And
absolutely.
movies can also, I mean, Black, for example,
Yeah, that
was
was.
horrendous for me. I mean, like, in the sense, because it was made out of Helen's this thing, and uh, the teacher was actually a woman, and Amitabh Bachchan, of course, is a man. I
Yeah,
mean, in that particular sense, but I think, I don't think because in the first half was horrible. You
yeah,
know, he was shouting and all to
yeah,
a multiple disability child
yeah,
who's not even listening. I mean, like, in that sense. And the only one beautiful scene was where, the relationship between the siblings.
yeah, yeah.
I don't need to explain it. I'm just giving that. I like it.
No, absolutely, yeah. And yeah, I think it's a very reductionist idea of what a disabled person's life would look like, and I think to some extent that is changing, but perhaps we have a very very long way to go in that. And I just want to, from the word representation, I want to ask you a little bit more, that Anita, how are women with disabilities represented, for example, in national disability mechanisms, and the laws that we have for protection of women, for example, from violence, and a redressal of workplace harassment, or in, I mean, across spaces, or in different national schemes. How are women with disabilities, girls with disabilities, represented in those laws and policies? If you could shed a little light on that?
Yeah, but hang on. I mean, I haven't got the whole thing. In the sense, it's such a long question. Uh,
Sorry, sorry, sure.
uh, I feel that, see, working place, and Vishakha's judgment, which was there, I think it was applicable for disabled girls also.
Mhm.
And they were interesting, this thing where this I could give you an example where this blind girl who's molested, and she's in the office, of course. And so the girl says that I can make out if you all are very quiet. I mean, like, and you walk, I mean, in the sense there should not be any voice. And she was so good with it that she recognized the shoes ka the way the shoes were he was wearing,
Right.
and she actually pointed out that he is the one who is responsible. When you say that institutional resources, institutional this thing, there have been there is time now that earlier, of course, they were not there in any of the big, like for example the civil services and all that. But slowly, of course, some of the jobs were taken up and all that, though it took a lot of time, because what they would do was that they would test somebody who's tested in Bangalore and comes to Delhi and says that it's lower. So there was always a ambivalence, and they then they would have had to do a third, test which is there, so that, I mean, like, whether she would get it or not. So one was, so this belief, that they can genuinely do this work, that I think was not there. But there have been many of the teaching professions where they have been seriously taken up. But I remember one particular case. I mean, I just want to tell you that how insensitive even the students can be.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, I remember that I wouldn't give the name of the person. I can say person A, right? So the person A was teaching, and what I used to happen in winters, the where this door used to kind of, it was not closed, and I used to sit there doing my work, whatever, because there was sun and all that. And then I slowly realized that when the class is completely quiet, you come to know that there is something wrong with the class, no?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, they do keep talking to each other and all that, and you have to keep saying also, no, that okay, stop it and all that. And then I left that door and I came from the other door, and I said that A, can I come in? She said, तू आ तो जा, पर मुझे लग रहा है कि क्लास में कोई है नहीं.
Mm. Yeah.
Now I kind of I went up to the principal and I said that there is this particular class will be punished definitely in every possible way.
Mm-hmm.
Because I told them, I said, if you want to beat with me. Don't imagine that someone who's giving a student to take attendance and you are, just leaving the room
Yeah.
quietly.
Yeah.
I forgot something which you also asked. I mean,
No, I think what I had, the other piece that I had asked in this was, how are women with disabilities, represented in national disability schemes and mechanisms?
yeah. So now in the 1995 there was nothing. I mean, as such. But now, of course, there are sections in which they kind of write about that. But at that time, I think because the UN Convention in itself, because there were different universities and different kind of, so different, like, countries and all. So abortion became a serious problem.
Mm.
So they wouldn't write abortion there. I mean, in that particular sense, because some universities ethically would not want it, or what, I mean, in that sense. So that, I think, became a issue, which I feel, for example, Rachna and I have done a lot of work, because we've kind of said that, I mean, where do we draw a line?
Yeah. Yeah.
We kind of say that, uh, uh, you are, I mean, saying that, this particular, I mean, as a woman, as a disabled woman, as a feminist woman,
Yeah.
we both believed in abortion,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, how it happened, that's a very interesting anecdote. We were doing some work on from spinal injuries, right?
Mm-hmm.
The hospital. So some of the mothers, I would kind of go and ask them कि अगर आपको पता चलता कि आप अबॉर्शन कर सकते तो आप कर लेते।
Mm.
तो मुझे कहते, मुझे उन्होंने कहा कि नहीं नहीं, हम बिल्कुल नहीं करते। इंसान, हर कोई करता है, तो ऐसे अबॉर्शन नहीं करना चाहिए। तो
Mm.
देयर वाज, आई वाज डाउटफुल. So then I said, Ki Rachna, you have to go.
Yeah.
Because what they're trying to do is to, uh, actually, there is this, in a way, social construction, right?
Yeah.
That they are actually doing something which they wouldn't want to hurt me,
Mm.
right? So after a few days, we sent, Rachna went, and you believe me, those women, two or three might have been different, two or three the same.
Mm.
They all said that if I had a chance, I would have bought it.
Mm. Yeah. Absolutely.
Are you gone?
No, no. I'm right here. Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
No, no. Is it complete? I mean, like,
No, no, definitely. That's complete. And I think that's very perfect. That's a very powerful example that you gave because it also sheds light on agency, how agency is often it's almost like there is no agency. Uh,
yeah. Because also there was another issue. I mean, I've never heard. I never take mothers as responsible, because mothers, poor things. There have been so many instances where the husband would divorce and go, and always take that, na, how if you don't do the homework, they actually, put the impact on the mother. And many times such things happen. So uh, so uh, there was that movie called, क्या नाम था, आमिर खान, तारे जमीन पर.
right, right. Yeah, yeah.
So this came, and after a couple of days, she called me up and she said, Anita, did you like the movie?
Hmm.
So I said, yeah, sort of. Okay. So she said, but I liked it, but I'm very worried about it. And I'm really depressed also. I said,
Hmm.
why are you depressed? I mean, I was asking. So she said that, see, my boy doesn't even do painting.
Right.
So you come back to square one.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
And even in the hysterectomy part, some of the mothers would get the hysterectomy done because they would say that we have no potentiality within us to take care of a
yeah,
girl who would also have a child also, right?
yeah, yeah.
So in a way, uh, illegitimate. violence
Yeah.
is actually acceptable.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, no, that's a very interesting perspective, Anita Di. And I don't think I had thought of it myself. And it's interesting that you say that, because I think it's also, your natal family is where your first experiences of of violence happen, and also the things that we take for granted. Uh,
Yeah.
these are things that, so I think it's a very
No,
interesting.
and also within the families, I think I can say for certain that rape has been there more in the families of disabled people rather than non-disabled.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, just for me to understand, that uh for example, when such experiences do happen, because there is absolutely no data. When I was doing my research, I was looking at where is the data. I mean, we're all
No,
already.
because data is of the family,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the family doesn't want to bring it out.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's a huge that's a huge challenge, because
Yeah, yeah.
where to
Because it's really, and I remember one of the mother, I still remember distinctively, telling her daughter, "Ki you look like a monkey, and you think my brother would be actually doing something to you."
Mm. Yeah.
So can you imagine how the child,
Yeah.
and also another thing which is associated with it is the fact that care recipients are never asked as to what kind of care do they need.
Mm. Yeah. And I think there's also, one side is of course the family, and there is no end to institutional forms of exclusion and violence that people who are not able-bodied, people with disability, various kinds of disabilities may face, whether right from when you step out of your house to public transport, to the institutions that you access, whether it's your schools and your educational institutes, or even workplaces. I mean, there are.
Yeah, yeah, everywhere. And also classrooms are also not very safe.
Yeah, absolutely. And also.
Colleges are not safe
Yeah.
unless you are, really one of those who would kind of say that there's a strict kind of, condition.
Yeah. 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 And I think the other thing that I wanted to ask also is that beyond access, and representation, something that I always think about is that how are women with disabilities included in national programs that promote leadership? So what about leadership? And because until beyond.
Very few, I think the ones who largely the parents,
Yeah.
like Poonam Natarajan for this thing. And many of the ones who are interested, they will be entered. I mean, they would be taken in.
Mm.
But I'm not sure whether they are really heard also.
Yeah. Yeah. And so what's the way forward, Anita Di, when we look at representation and leadership in particular? Because I feel like, while accessibility is the crux of the matter, it's the base, on which we're able to step and move forward, and to be able to um, live
No,
that.
there have been, like for example, Nidhi Goel and all.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what has happened is the tragedy is that the youngsters have taken over,
Mm.
and the corpus of experience that we had so many years back.
Mm-hmm.
They don't bother.
Yeah. Yeah. And we find similar frictions even in the women's in the feminist movement in India. And I see this all the time because there are a lot of younger feminists who are now
And this kind of women, the second category of women, are more interested in also getting a career.
yeah, yeah.
I mean, like, I've done three, whatever, but this is like, uh, you can say that love of, really your own work labor, you can say in that sense.
Yeah,
But now the category which is there is not like that.
right, right. And I
So the institutions also, they will take the money, and then after that, away.
Yeah, it's like lip service. Yeah, yeah. And that's I think something I want to know from you, Anita Di, because women are not a homogeneous unit. Like we say, that there are so many.
No, they are not homogeneous at all.
Yeah, exactly. And within that, neither are women with disabilities, a homogeneous group. And in your experience, how does caste, class, or religion, interact with, with gendered experiences of
Hmm.
women with disabilities? How?
No, no, there's a lot of, I'm sorry to say that, but there's a lot of networking.
Yeah.
I mean, and who's reaching where, and, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And sometimes, because I write more, I mean, across South also and West also, I mean, like,
Mm,
so sometimes they question me and say that, you know, why is it your reference was not there?
mm,
So I laugh. I say that let it be. नहीं मिला होगा उसको.
yeah.
Because there's also a competitiveness in that.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And I'm talking about disabled now out here. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's true. It's the same analogy as, if there are, when we say about women's political participation, that uh,
Yeah.
if there are only that many, if there is only that much pie and only that many tickets to give out, that
Yeah.
one person is getting a space at the cost of somebody else not getting it,
Hmm.
and that is always, a challenging tightrope to walk. um, Before I want to kind of come with you to so what are the spaces of leadership, Anita Di, where you would like to see people with disabilities in leadership? I mean, it's a no brainer, I would say, everywhere, but what are some of those key spaces where you feel
No,
we
I thought some people like Shampa, like Nandini, Jija. I feel that these are people who have genuinely, because they are themselves disabled
yeah.
and have been interested in, tax, I mean, doing all sorts of work. Similarly, I mean, Shilpa, Amita Dhanda, I
Mm.
mean, all who are interested in, you know. Now, Amita is not disabled in that sense,
Mm.
but we just did a thing on Supreme Court, the accessibility thing.
Mm-hmm.
So because we are interested in it,
Yeah.
and there is not a single, you know, a single coin that we would be using.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. absolutely. And I think about it sometimes, that, we've been fighting for women's representation in the parliament for so long that we've forgotten that there is not a single, a woman parliamentarian with disabilities, you know.
Yeah, and where have they given a chance to
Yeah,
women? I mean, non-disabled and the disabled. They've never thought about it. Also,
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And until
only Nidhi has lot of. I mean, again, networking.
yeah, yeah,
But it was very interesting because I was in Kriya, and
mhm,
then I was doing a program with Kriya and Janet Price, and without telling me, they changed my name.
yeah, right. I think that that's a problem that you're not alone, I think, in that experience. Unfortunately, I think there is a fracture.
No, but it's hurting, right? And also, but because I'm an academician, so I had many other interests. I mean, like
Yeah.
in that particular sense. But still, it's not very. I mean, it's not very nice. I mean,
Yeah,
like
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's a very interesting point that you say that while there are people who are making strides, from the community, but there is uh
no, like yesterday, I'll give you an example.
yeah.
We were all given 10 to 12 minutes. Only Nidhi took almost 16
Hmm. Yeah.
because she thinks that she's the leader.
Mm.
And
Right.
I can speak on 20 minutes or whatever, or more than that. But I wouldn't because I'm disciplined in a particular way.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. That and I think that's a big challenge. That how do leaders and activists who've put in the work and put in the years,
Yeah.
how do you
They've been
discuss?
forgotten completely. I mean,
How do
like, can you imagine? I have never. Many people say that why didn't you ask for a, there is this uh, national award or whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
So I say, I'm not going to go on my own.
yeah, absolutely, yeah, yeah,
तुमको देना है तो दो.
yeah, yeah, yeah. um I wanted to come from that to, like you mentioned, you have other interests as well. And I'm very interested, to know a little bit about that as well, Anita Di, because, of course, you've been a disability rights activist, but you're also an academician. You also teach, disability studies, and I'm really interested to know, your experiences of teaching and engaging with young people, in that
Hmm.
sense, and what has been that experience? I know there's a very interesting experience that you had narrated,
No, I learnt a lot from them.
yeah, yeah,
I learnt a lot in the sense, for example, teeth.
yeah,
Many of them obviously go in for the, if they are thicker, I mean, what's it called? They क्या यूज करते हैं उसको?
just no
Uh,
braces,
हाँ, braces.
yes,
And we used to discuss that
yeah,
because that is also part of, again, indicating normalcy.
yeah, yeah,
Similarly, we would talk about the color.
yeah,
So in my class, disability wasn't only disabled per se. Disabled where all we are. I mean, we would kind of discuss.
yeah. And
And these things are very, very. fascinating,
Yeah.
because sometimes we are only, we don't want to talk about a standardized principle, somebody's mobility impaired, somebody's whatever. There could be many things that has happened also, no?
Yeah.
Like we used to talk about, things like, uh, these days they have that, you can reduce the stomach,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
the surgery or whatever it's called, but it is done. Or they would have like a nose work or whatever, all these things. And it's like, again, what are we doing? We are again trying to come back to the
Normal.
idea
Yeah. Yeah.
that normalcy
Yeah.
will always be valued.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's very,
Whereas, why?
yeah. That's a very good point that that you highlight, Anita Di, because I think body dysmorphia, what is my relationship with my body, and beyond,
Yeah,
yeah, and I think that is not something that, and I think now in 2020, we're almost about to go into 2025. I feel like, okay, there is some discourse that is starting to happen, but it's very, very little in
yeah.
terms of,
No, but now at least thankfully, some of the students and all have started working on it. Like, how to understand the body. I mean, like, how embodiment in itself.
yeah,
So that I think is a, but it takes time, no?
yeah, yeah. How does I mean, because academic practices is also within an institutional framework. Because you say, and I understand that it takes time, but how does that work, Anita Di? Because there is how does the learning and the curriculum making and the kind of rigorous format of education that we have right now, how does that pan up with each other?
No, I think you take up English literature,
Yeah.
you pick up Firdaus Kanga. That was the one book which I actually started reading somewhere in 1990,
Yeah.
right? And I would recommend that book. It's very 240 rupees or something like that. And it's a person who's got a bone disorder. So he would get immediately a fracture, like that. And yet he was interested in sexuality,
Yeah.
So he would have the encyclopedia, and under the encyclopedia he would be looking at. And I had a sister who
Mm.
also would encourage him to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's such a lovely, there's a movie called Sixth Happiness,
Yeah.
which I often use for the students, because it's like, really, same movie, and he himself acts in that movie.
Mm.
So like there's Anita Desai. I
Yeah.
mean, there are many, many Hindi novels are also there. Many, many novels where you come to know that, okay, disability, that's how disability is kind of, represented.
Mm. Yeah. No, thank you for mentioning those examples, because we're actually going to share some of those examples, on our platform. I think it'll be really wonderful to share that. And
Yeah, there are those Indra, Indra, I think one, the last name, I think. That's a very nice book. Again, literature. And
yeah,
literature used to then make you understand what disability, and we used to compare as to
yeah,
where disability is disability and where disability is actually literature is kind of trying to say that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Absolutely. And, You shared with me, when we were chatting before, when we had spoken last week, you had shared with me, and I'd love for you to share that with our audiences because, I remember telling you, looking at that photo of yours, with the mountains in the background and there's snowfall happening. And then you told me that it was Kimti Falls, and you had shared a very, very interesting very powerful example of you had gone with your students. I'd love it if you could
Yeah, yeah.
share.
I took them to Missouri,
Yeah.
and they were about 11 or 12 of them, and it was like, somewhere near like New Year's, we were celebrating out there and all that. And then we were kind of, we could see that these guys were you know, behind us. So I really told them I had two crutches. So I gave one crutch towards the other end and one crutch here, and I was holding their hand, I mean, shoulder.
Mm.
So I told them that the first job is to reach the gulab jamun shop so that we can sit down and eat gulab jamun.
Yeah.
And then if we finish that, then we will go to this thing. Though I don't want to say that I was always rebellious,
Mm. Yeah.
but the point is that you cannot always be scared also for everything.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you for saying that. And uh, I think to sum up the conversation, something that I wanted to ask you was that, is there a parting thought that you would want to share, with young people, particularly young people who we engage with, is there a parting thought that you would like to kind of share with them, particularly when
I
it.
feel young people really are very, very energetic also, and they think about lots of things. I mean, for example, they brought in, thinking about euthanasia.
Yeah.
They brought in about, like, they do think, I mean, not that I mean, we did talk about it, but we at least take the examples, which are there: passive euthanasia, active euthanasia. And then, I mean, also how, I mean, a philosopher like Peter Singer,
Yeah.
who used to say that, I mean, why are you spending money on a disabled? So the question about that, was always important. And I feel that the youngsters somewhere are really motivated
Yeah.
to understand that what exactly disability means to them.
Mm.
And some of them would also share their examples,
Yeah. Yeah.
which I think was lovely. I mean, like, I don't know whether you've heard him or not. Maybe you should take him for the next this thing.
Yeah.
My student only, called Abhishek
Right. No, definitely.
Anika.
Abhishek Anuka. Yes, yes. Absolutely.
He's my student. MPhil किया था उसने मेरे साथ.
Wonderful.
So, but lovely book he had written on that. And so there are many, many people who are very good.
Yeah. Yeah. And Anita, the just as a parting thought, is there a message that you have for fellow contemporaries who are in the gender space, who are leading various gender transformative movements in their own spaces with different groups? Is there a message, or a parting thought that you would like to share with them?
Well, one is a older slogan which disabled people use it, which is that, which we've changed slightly, where we say nothing for us without us.
Yeah.
Don't do anything.
Yeah.
Ask us. If you're doing something like about a ramp,
Mm.
ask us what kind of a ramp you want.
Yeah.
Ask what kind of a uh, universal design you want for us. Don't try to give us, and this is my request also.
Yeah.
This is not a harsh or anything like that. My request is that be there and try and understand politely that these are the ways that we are not going to like and how we can develop them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that is something very important. And also, I suppose, I mean, like, I'm not saying that when, like, Nidhi went for that Beijing. So those things are also important.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can't say that they are not important at all. So it's important to kind of, intersect
Yeah.
and see what can be done and what cannot be done.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Anita Di, for thank you so much for doing this conversation with us. It
You are welcome. I hope it was enough. I might have forgotten few things or whatever. But
No, but but I would love it. We would love to bring you back to do more conversations like this. And it doesn't take much. Just to record a conversation and an audio. And to do this. And I would love it, like you recommended that. Why don't you have a conversation with other
yeah,
people?
but I think one thing which I would want to say, which I think I did that, um, the curriculums
Yeah.
in colleges, in universities,
Hmm.
should have disability in it.
Yeah.
That's something which is my goal in life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much, Anita Di. This has been,
You're most welcome.
yeah, thank you so much. Just 1 second, I'm going to stop the